Real life.
Superpowers.
We knew that we need to fail in everything we do few times until we make them work. And that's the only way we could do it. So we truly put aside everything. I recall when we just started, my ex-girlfriend told me it makes no sense that you sleep with Shachar more than you sleep with me, right? And that's really how it started.
Hey everyone, welcome to Real Life Superpowers. I'm Noah Eshed, here with my co-host Renan Menipaz. Today, we're joined by Lior Lamesh, founder and CEO of GK8. At 26, while serving in the Israeli security agency Shin, Lior helped break into what was considered the most secure crypto custody system in the world. It took 4 days, no special resources. That breach became the foundation of GK8. In less than 3 years, GK8 was protecting billions of dollars for the world's largest financial institutions, backed among others by the co-founder at Checkpoint, and along the way, getting acquired, get this, no less than twice. Let's unpack how this unfolded.
Real life.
Superpowers.
Up in the sky, it's a bird. It's a plane.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
It's alive!
Real life.
Superpowers.
Lior, welcome to Real Life Superpowers.
Hey, Lior.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me.
What are you up to these days?
Well, mainly planning for the 2026, business plan for the company. Some conversations with the team. What should we do better? New energy. Beginning of the year. It has been relatively quiet 2 weeks with the other countries outside of Israel being slower, which is always nice. So feeling is good.
You actually sold the company, so what's your position these days?
Yeah, so, it was a pretty strange story. Unusual story, I would say. Most of the acquisitions that I'm aware of, after the acquisitions took place, the team been embedded in the current business of the parent company. But in our case, the strategy was keeping us fully independent company, independent entity. So basically, it let us to continue, making the dream come true and continue to serve me and my business partner, Shachar, as CTO, CEO, and continue to grow. So we still do the same, actually, although the company been acquired for the first time nearly 4 years ago.
What do you mean for the first time?
The company been acquired twice, which is another story.
Okay, tell us about that.
Was once not enough? Do you need to sell it a few
For
times?
me, it was enough. Trust me. I didn't anticipate it to happen. I can tell you that. No, so look, we founded GK8 in 2018 with the mission of increasing the trust in the financial market when it comes to blockchain assets. We do a solution that enables banks and financial entities to manage blockchain-based digital assets in a very secure way. And since inception in 2018, we sold the company for the first time in 2021. And 7 months afterward, our first parent company had some financial issues, and they decided to sell us. And it was possible because we remain independent. And then another company, which is our current parent company, Galaxy Digital, which is a Nasdaq-listed company in the US, one of the market leaders in the blockchain space and AI infrastructure. They acquired us. It has been less than 3 years since then. So it was a thing.
That is so fascinating because, as you said, typically when a company is acquired, it's absorbed into the company that is purchasing. And then that company typically is now putting their resources behind it and helping it be stronger, bigger, better. And then the downside of this, and where typically I think all of the due diligence happens, is around, beyond the KPIs, it's around the culture and the procedures and how a company can assimilate into another company. So I suppose, and that problem was sort of solved, but how, do you even feel like you're now part of something else?
It's a good question. We do feel that you are now, part of something else. But I think the reason, the parent company look at us as some kind of two-headed dragon, I would say, right? On the one hand, they fully believe in the potential of the company, of the team, of the entrepreneurs. We do have some strong competitors in a very high valuation. And we have a lot to do and a lot of contribution to put in the existing business. That's on the one end. And on the other end, we are strategic acquisition for them because we are infrastructure enablers, and they do a lot of blockchain financial services that can leverage what we built. So we do that on the one end. On the other end, we support them with strategic initiatives. And I think one of the magic in startups is really the ability to stay close together and be together in the same place, in the same office, committed to one mission. And I think this type of magic is something that we could retain by remaining independent company, while having publicly Nasdaq traded company backing us, contributing us from the trust perspective that we are looking to provide the market with, especially since we built a very sensitive technology layer that basically enable banks and similar organizations to hold their assets. It's like vault for digital assets. It's something that banks need to trust you in order to work with you. So other than having a unique technology and the amazing team that I have here that built something very impressive, I think that having in the back of the mind that it's not something that can be closed tomorrow morning due to financial issues is very powerful messaging.
When you say independent, okay, so the Nasdaq traded company has a majority of the stocks, right? So it has to have at least 51%, right?
Yes, the parent company own 100% of GK8, no doubt.
So
just the day-to-day operation, we retain the same team, we continue to do the same thing.
I understand.
Yeah.
But if you had that team, that closeness, then you also know that you can't be, you're not subjected to so much chance that you're going to close or something's going to happen in the business. Why would you sell at all?
That's a different story. Why did we sell at the beginning? So look, we had an interesting journey. We started in a very young age. We were first timers. We were two co-founders, Shachar and I. We both used to work together in the same team in the Israeli Prime Minister's office. Right, we were part of a team that protected the strategic assets of the country from cybersecurity attacks, and we always were trained with how to protect from state-level hackers in a large budget that can cause too large damage. And we're very excited to start this business, and I can share more why we started doing it. But we were very young. Shachar was 23, and I was 26 when we started. We never, ever built a company together before. We did some interesting things in life that I think provided us with the self-confidence and the technology and the life capabilities that we needed in order to fulfill such a dream. But it was something new to us and first time for us.
You did some things that gave you the confidence at a very young age. So what did give you the confidence?
So on my end, not necessarily on Shachar's side, I think that since I was young, I was raised in a family that had a lot of expectations from me, I would say. My mother always pushed me to study hard. She's like, these Polish mothers that if you get 97, she asks you why not 100, and that's how I've been raised.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yes, exactly. I recall, in ninth grade when I needed to go to high school with with all of my grades, I had everything 100 besides one in a lecturer in 95 it was, and then I went to the teacher and I made her make it 100, so it's only 100. So that's how I've been raised by her side, and on the other end, my father, which is a typical, I would say, Moroccan father. His dream was for me to be a professional soccer player. And that's what I did. By the way, I was a professional soccer player for like 12 years, since the age of 6 until the army. And yeah, I mean, it started there, to being since a very young age into, I would say for me, competitive, places in life when I try to be, best in both sides. And I told you on the great side, I did good. And on the soccer side, on the one end, I think I wasn't the best player, but since I wasn't a typical, I would say, player from quarter perspective, the coach liked me. They gave me to be captain in some of the years and stuff. So I think it was helpful since very young age. It's increasing the self-confidence, the self-responsibility, the ability to deal with multiple stressful things and aim to be excellent in all of them. I think it was helpful, and that's why I really encourage any parent that I know these days to encourage their children to do sport and competitive sports since a young age, because even though it's not necessarily their future professional life, it's still bringing a lot of tools for the future. So I think that's where it started. And then at the Army, I started in Flight Cadet Academy, and then in another unique unit where I serve today as an officer, and did a lot of reserves in the last few years, which also was very competitive. And the Prime Minister's office period, which is, also, you do something that saves lives of people. And there's a lot of pressure there. And I think that all of these places in life really helping you to be in this position, that although you're young, you have the confidence to believe in yourself, to understand that, if you do your best and you continue to focus on your dream, the average of your decisions eventually leading you to the right place, and things are being successful. Yeah.
So that now I'm going to repeat the question, because now we're also, not only do you have a secure company, it's going well. It's hard to see a disaster happening. Okay. And you're also confident. Okay. And you've done successes before, no matter if it's not in the capitalistic sense, but in the, national sense. So why would you sell a company?
So yeah, I went back to elaborate more on I think
No, I got it for sure. It made me more curious.
Yeah. So again, I think we're first timers, and it was a period in time where we started in 2018, right? And then where the first year was very successful. We closed a few deals with the leading companies in the space in a manner of how much digital assets they hold and how much our solution is needed. One of the biggest ones was eToro here, which is our client since 2019, and really holding billions of dollars with our solution. And then in 2020, COVID hit, and at the beginning, it seems like, the world is going down and all of the companies in my stage going to be dead. And it was exactly at the time when I had to do additional fundraising. And suddenly, after a pretty challenging year where we did the fundraising, by the way, which went better than I expected, even before we finished the fundraising, we finished like 80% of what we planned. We
How
started
much money was it?
we raised only 8 because we started receiving at the seed round was $4 million, by the way. Back in 2018, it used to be considered a very high seed round. Back in the days, it was 500,000. That's the seeds that we were aware of, but it was a pretty good one back in time. It was led by Marius Nach, the founder of Checkpoint, and for us, with the mission of trying to do, I would say, firewall for blockchain, it was a strong story to tell. And then in the A round, we stopped after the 8 million, and it was because we started receiving acquisition proposals. Because during COVID, it seems like the world is going down. Since we do technology that enable digital assets to exist, it came the other way around. The world started realizing that there is more place for digital assets, and our mission is enable the financial industry and enable the future of money to work in a secure way. And one of our competitors being acquired back in the days, it was a company called Curve that PayPal acquired for $200 million. And then we started receiving acquisition proposals from multiple companies, actually. As first timers, it seems to us very, very exciting, very fascinating. And although we still felt like, it's our baby, and we still feel like there is so much to do, and that we're still, so much excited about enabling the world working with digital assets in a way that money will not be able to be stolen. We felt like that if we are going with the right partner, we can accelerate how we can execute our mission. And that was what we had in mind, like 1 + 1 = 3. That's how we look at it.
Were you right? Because it got sold afterwards, right? So do you feel that you're right now in hindsight, or how do you feel about it?
So, look, I'm not regretting on anything because I feel like we did great with retaining clients, partners, employees during this a year where we had to navigate between the first parent company to the second parent company. But yes, the answer is yes. I'm not regretting at all because we do a lot of progress. We're over 100 employees these days. And just this year, we triple the new contract revenue compared to last year, which is an amazing achievement for us. So, look, I feel like having the superpower of our parent company and their knowledge in the space, their connections, the financial stability, the story of being publicly traded, Nasdaq-listed company in the blockchain space, which suffered in the previous year some less of trust, I would say, issues. I think we do way better under this structure. So,
but you said an interesting name. So you said Marius Nach, which has is Checkpoint, and he has it's a global company, and in Israeli proportions, an amazing success story that employs, I think tens of thousands of employees already, or at least thousands. And I'm hearing this and I'm saying, the end game wouldn't be being another Checkpoint. That's a failure. It's unbelievable what you did, right? It's unbelievable. But the thing is that, you know what I mean? There's always the sliding doors.
Yes. Look, it's, it is definitely the dream. Of course.
What did he say? Did he say take it, or did he say stay?
I think that a good board members, and he used to be in our board, are, board members and investors that are supportive in the state of mind of the founders, right? They truly believe in us. Obviously the natural thing and the instinct would be, hold on, it could be, not a $115 million deal, which is the first deal that we did after 3 years, which again was great.
Unbelievable.
That could be, thank you, way more than that. But I feel like we're excited about the opportunity. We're excited about the ability to execute our dream about the mission of the company and the vision that we have faster. And I think that a great board members and investors are the ones that supporting the founders with their passion. And I really think it's the smart move to make. So obviously they supported it.
Lior, you talk a lot about the dream, and I'm curious because clearly you grow up in a really stressful environment, even if good intended. I genuinely believe that most parents, when they put so much pressure on their children, they are really just worried and want to make sure that their children will grow up, to be successful. But having said that, you were pressured to have the best results possible, like perfect grades, and to play soccer. And do you feel like during your childhood, you got a chance to reflect and ask yourself what you want? Because, these days you talk about fulfilling your dream, and I'm wondering, was this, like, when does this become the dream? When did you ever ask yourself what I want?
That's a great question. And my psychology asked me the same questions as well. So look, I've been raised under the perception that I can do everything that I want. My parents, they get married in a very young age. My mother was a mother at the age of 17 and a few months, and my father was 19. They even didn't graduate high school, and I had no one in my family that ever, did anything similar to that. So I had no really support, I would say, from what I'm doing today. But what I did have is my mother and my parents teaching me that I'm capable to fulfill everything that I really want. And that's I think the gift that I got from them, this type of self-confidence. And through the way of being able to achieve goals, and at any point in time it was different goal, right? At the beginning it was high school grades or score in the football game on Saturday.
Who set the goals?
When you're very young, it's together with the family, right? But what I'm trying to say is that, at this point in life, I learned that once I set goals, I can achieve them. And, obviously it wasn't easy, right? I've been through fails, of course. But I think, again, the gift that I get is the ability that I know that I can make things happen. And it doesn't matter what it takes. If I want it enough and I'm willing to compromise on any other things that are not related to my goals, things can happen and things work. So I think the way it worked during my life is that at any point in time I had something else that was my dream, and at any point in time it was the thing that I focused on and willing to put everything aside, like hobbies or I don't know, personal preferences, and it just worked, right? It's not. I wouldn't say it's easy way all the time, right? But the feeling when you achieve what you want more than anything else is something that nothing can be stronger than that. So yeah, I mean, at any point in time, I feel like I had another dream, and the confidence that I know that I can achieve the goal that I'm setting to myself.
This is also, sorry to interrupt, this is also so key for anybody listening to realize that there's always a cost. There's always a cost. There's always compromise, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the point. I mean, people think it's shine. It's only shine, right? On the side. Yeah. And look, I'm happy, right? I'm happy and I've been through amazing experiences, right? This journey with the company was amazing. Again, we did a very fast progress. We did interesting fundraisings with the best investors. We sold the company twice. We retained the company under very challenging circumstances.
Wait, do you mean COVID?
Yeah, like, COVID, right? And then you need to realize, the first parent company, they've been through a real financial issue, right? They raised $750 million in parallel to acquiring us for 115, and within 7 months they filed to bankruptcy, and we needed to liquidate ourselves on their behalf for a new parent company. And I'm, as a CEO of a company that is not mine anymore, needed to make it work, and it was a real challenge, right? And you need to be so much trustful and transparent and determined to keep your baby alive and to make sure that nothing is going to happen to him, and lead this whole process with the employees, the partners, the clients, and especially with the new potential parent companies. We had over 30 companies that were interested to acquiring us from the previous one, and how you navigate it with the knowledge that you share from potential acquirer that just want to steal data or technology knowledge, or the one that are really want really to learn and to do due diligence to really acquire you. So we've been through a real challenging times, and I'm so glad that we always managed to find a way to figure everything out. It's a really unique story, I think.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I want to go back for a second, okay? So let's go back to your childhood for a second. I'm hypnotizing you. I'm asking you, you said there was when was the moment that you can remember, okay, that that you have the confidence that you said you work hard and then you gain that accomplishment, and then for later years you're saying that know-how inside, okay, made you confident enough that if you're determined enough, you can receive anything with a price. But what was the moment? Was there a specific moment?
At the beginning, when you are very young and things just work, you are so you don't even notice that something is like, I wouldn't say spatial, but that something is like that you are successful because it's just what my parents expected me. But I recall when I was 16 and I had this theoretical driving test for the motorbike that I did back in time, that I didn't study, and I just went there with my mother to the test. And when I passed it and we went out, she said something like, in Hebrew, it's like you're gadol ma'chaim. You know what I mean?
Bigger than life, yeah.
Exactly.
You're amazing.
Exactly. And at this point, I was already 16, but I feel like, I just realized that during the way.
But there was no cost there. That can't be the moment.
I agree with you. Wait,
cost.
the cost started in the army, right? Imagine that you used to succeed in everything you do, and then you failed in the Flight Cadet Academy, and it was something that I think made it was a very painful point for me. I had to deal with it, and I learned a lot from it because first I realized that how hard it is to deal with fails in a very meaningful way, because that used to be my dream back in time. And that's what made me, to go out to the outside of the army world in a very determined way that pushed me to do my very best and to do these compromises that we are talking about, right? And since I knew how to do compromises, because, in the army, you do 21, 28 in such units, right? You're staying in the base for a long time in a row. Or before, when you're a professional sports player, you have games on Saturday morning, so you can't go out with friends on Friday nights, or you need to give up on trips in high school or trips, vacation outside of the country with your family in order not to lose the trains with the in the football team. So the coach will let you play on Saturday. So I think all of these compromises when you are young, and then when you fail in something that was very important for you, you set yourself in a point where you know that you're willing to do compromises, that it's something that is part of the way, and that that and once you do it, things could succeed. And I needed to reprove myself, I think, at this point.
Prove to who?
Myself. At this point, that that once I will continue to do what I did before, it could work. And I think that's one of the things that gave me a lot of, I think, motivation to do my very, very best to do things as fast as possible. And, I started a bachelor degree less than a year after I finished with the Army, and the master degree right after that. And working in two startups back in time during my bachelor degree, and then in the Prime Minister's office, and just to start everything as fast as I could, because I really, at any point, wanted to fulfill the next dream. And after the Prime Minister's office, which used to be my dream, the next one would be to build my own company. I felt like, it's the natural thing for me after doing the MBA and after being in, I would say, standing out positions in different stages in life. And and we had a very interesting story that make it start. A friend of mine told us about the crypto world. It's not that we were so much about crypto at this point, but he mainly told us he is like crypto investors. He used to be back in time, also today, but crypto investor for years. And he showed to us the product that people think is the most secure product in the market. It's called a cold wallet, called the Ledger. And when we saw this product, we didn't understand why people think it's a secure product to all digital assets, because it's supposed to be cold or offline, in other words. But it's like a thumb drive with a micro USB cable that you use to connect to your laptop, which is connected to the internet. And it didn't make sense to us. When we saw it, we wanted to buy it and to see if we can hack it ourselves without any special resources. And we managed to do it in 4 days. And we didn't understand how could it be that this product holds billions of dollars all around the world and has been sold 1 million times at the year 2018. And that we could hack it without any special resources, our own product, within a few days. And that's what made us decide to start this journey, actually.
Amazing. I'm just thinking, like, you were working and you sold the company. And again, like we discussed, like perhaps it was, obviously it was to mitigate risk at a time where it seemed to make most sense. And then, do you remember the moment when you understood that that company is going to file for bankruptcy, or realize that's where it's heading?
Yeah, it was a surprising moment. I just woke up and I saw it online.
No way.
It was very surprising, yeah.
Wow.
And, it was just 7 months after the closing of the deal.
What,
yeah,
you open the news? Like, how does that go? Then what do you feel?
I was, you have no idea how many messages and phone calls I received this morning. But we used to be in situations where you just need to solve problems all the time or to manage wars, I would say. And it was so close from time perspective to the acquisition of the company that we still were in state of mind of, that you're still like
learning
in stressful processes of running a company, of growing it. And for me, it was just at this point, as much as it was surprising that it happened, for me, it was just, all right, another thing that we need to deal with right now. And, it was real shocking. But after a day or two, we had to realize that, all right, that's what happened. And it's out of our hands, obviously. And we need to do the best thing we could from here in order to save the company.
So basically, it was an initial shock, which is also, like, I suppose it was also disappointing. And, like, how do I find it out this way? Like, I put my faith, I put everything here. But then you sort of take, I don't know, a few days to recalibrate. And then you just sort of lift your head up and ask yourself, okay, what can we control and how do we fix this, right? That's a very athletic mindset.
Yeah, that's correct. And it was different than what we've been through before because, when the company was owned by us, we had the all authority and we obviously had all of the transparency to know what's going on and to navigate, right? And at this point, we just, you're just being placed in a certain situation, in a certain environment, and you need to go from there. And yeah, I agree with you. It's like you're playing football and it's important game, and suddenly the other team score in the 80 minutes, and you got 10 minutes to do everything you can in order to score back and at least get 1 point.
Yeah, and like the play field is dropped from under your feet. Exactly. So how do you fix it?
I think the combination of, we still had a lot of motivation, at this point. We had a lot of self-confidence at this point. We did a very successful, 3 years. We sold the company. We at these 7 months, we also did a lot of growth from sales perspective and increasing the team, and everything went so well.
But wait, Lior, at this stage, because you sold it, obviously you cut a deal. So if you had to shut down at that stage, would you still be, would you still be in a good place financially? Maybe not the dream, but would it be a catastrophe for you, or could you walk away fine?
Obviously, it would be better if it wouldn't happen. I would say that. But again, I really feel like that wasn't my motivation, neither to sell the company. And I think I proved myself with that by being now in January 26th, while the company being sold at the end of 21, right? It was October 31st of 21, right? And I'm still running the company, right? So that's truly not what makes me wake up in the morning with full power and full energy. But that's indeed interesting position to care so much on the company after it's not yours anymore, and protect it and save it under these circumstances. But again, we've been through so much since then. We were talking about the period between July 22 to February 23, March 23, where the closing with the current parent company took place. And since then things were so great. And then 7 months afterward, the war started, right?
Yeah. So exactly. I'm sure that didn't help. So how were you able to stabilize a company that wasn't yours, that is a part but it was an entirely different entity still, right?
Yes, so the strategy of keeping us independent company was the same with the previous parent company and the current.
Yeah, so it protected you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was really in my hands because it was the same team that I always had. They trust me. They knew that I'm going to take care of them, and I did. From all perspective, including the financial perspective, and they just trusted me, and I was so glad to realize that it was the same. It's not only me, obviously, me and the rest of the management team that made amazing work here. And I was so glad to notice that it was the same with the clients, because really didn't lose anyone, which was so surprising.
You just didn't get the steroids that you were supposed to get from a proper acquisition, so you sort of kept down the path that you walked without the amplification that was expected, correct?
That's a nice way to look at it, yeah.
Would you perceive yourself more of are you like an entrepreneur?
Of course. How do you read me?
No, I don't know. I'm not reading. I'm just asking because I feel that like you like the CEO position. You love your company, which it's like yours, and you love to manage it. And like, do you see yourself opening up another business?
Definitely. But look, Galaxy is a true market leader in the blockchain space. You can look at them as the Goldman Sachs of blockchain. They have a huge trading business and lending business and investment banking, and they're one of the biggest venture capital in the blockchain space. They invested in over 400 companies. And historically, they used to be traded in the Toronto Stock Exchange. And earlier in 25 on May, we did uplisting to the NASDAQ, and it was very exciting for me. I was there in the bell ceremony alongside the CEO of the parent company, and we had a really great connection. He came here also during the war, by the way, which I so much appreciated. We can talk a little bit about this period of time as well. So look, I love the company, and I do my everything for GK8 and Galaxy, because we also continue to grow, right? Continue to grow. I told you about the business progress, the size of the team progress.
Right.
We've been global, and I continue to.
No, you're doing an incredible job. It's unbelievable. Even as CEO, like you're doing it's like magic tricks, right? You've been through, wars, Corona, twice acquired, selling, that's why I'm asking, because it's not like, as a conductor of the symphony, you're doing a job, I think 12 out of 10. Okay. And now I ask that because, what's wrong with doing 12 out of 10? It's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I feel that my gas is really the milestones that we continue to achieve. So this NASDAQ listed, for example, that took place on May, where I participated in the bell ceremony. For me, it was, we got the company being listed on NASDAQ, right? I know it's part of the whole firm together, but that's made me feel so excited. So I think that's what made me feel that way. But look, that's definitely not going to be the last company that I'm going to build. I think.
But why not? Like if each time you're breaking barriers, why not? Like why not continue?
No, I'm not saying that I'm not continuing. I definitely continue, and I feel like I'm going to continue for a long time from now. But I turned 34 not long time ago, and. I hope we'll continue to achieve amazing milestones like we did so far, and I will be here for a lot of years, right? And I anticipate me being for a lot of years. But I'm just 34, and I'm confident that at some point, either when I will be 40 or 50, right, or even I don't know, who knows, right? It will happen again, from completely different state of mind, I guess. I think I learned a lot. I think I described you that one of the, I think, most challenging things for me was how to balance myself. I'm very bad at balancing myself. I make myself so much, focused on to do what the company needs the most, that I don't really let myself, do the personal things that might be even helpful for the company, to be honest. And I think that I learned over the years how to balance myself a little bit better. And that's one of the main challenges in my journey that I'm working to improve every year, and I do improve it over the years.
So do you have any rituals like for self-care?
Yeah, when Shachar and I started, and Shachar, by the way, it's worth saying a few words about him, is the guy that I trust the most is truly my family. I trust him the same way that I trust my mother, and I think you can feel how much I trust her. And And we've been through a lot in the Prime Minister's office, and I make him marry with my cousin last year, by the way. I connected between them a few years ago. So
Self-care.
right. So when we started, since we didn't have a lot of experience, we realized that in order to win our competitors, which are way older than us, way more experienced than us, and have more money than us, because that's where the type of competitors that we had, we need to fight back with something. And the best thing we had to do, other than, I want to believe the skills and the talent, is the time, right? We had to spend a lot of hours, and the day-to-day for us was being at the office at like 8, 9 a.m. until 4 a.m. in the morning, and walk back home just for a few hours. And then again, and we did it including the weekends, and we did it in a row for years, right? And we knew that we need to fail in everything we do few times until we make them work. And that's the only way we could do it. So we truly put aside everything. I recall when we just started, my ex-girlfriend told me it makes no sense that you sleep with Shachar more than you sleep with me, right? And that's really how it started, right? I'm talking about 2018. And when you do that and you see that things works well and that you make progress, it's so hard to slow down, because then you hesitate. Wait, if I'm slowing down and I do something for myself to balance a little bit, would it have a painful circumstances that damage the company? And yeah, so you need to do baby steps in order to find a way to do it. And I'm still in this journey, to be honest.
So what rituals, if at all, do you have right now to sort of take care of yourself, make sure that you have some form of boundaries where you prioritize Lior sometimes?
As I said, I invest more time in myself. I'm doing sport, which is one of the things that I like the most. We do in the company once every 3 weeks in average. We rent a football field, right? And then we get the team getting there at the evenings, and we play all together. So it's a great thing also for the rest of the team. So I do a lot of sport. I see more friends. I spend more time with families. I'm trying to set boundaries for me during the weekends. And when I'm going out for events and meeting with clients outside of Israel, which I'm doing a lot, I make it some kind of rule that I spend at least one day, I would say, not at least, to see where I am. Because, over the years, I've been in so many countries globally, like everywhere. And after a few years, I said, wait, I was in so many nice places and I didn't spend enough time to know what's going on there, right? So that's another nice thing that I'm trying to make. So.
What's your superpower?
I really think that determination to go all in, regardless to what it takes. That's it. I mean, as clear as it sounds. I'm willing to compromise on a lot and to do whatever it takes until what I want to happen will happen.
And you already said that's your kryptonite, right? As well.
That's right.
and again.
No, I pay the price from the personal perspective, right?
Yeah, you said it literally before. You said my weakness is to balance.
And Noah, again, we have found out that superpower and the weakness is always the same. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, his home place of where birth was his weakness. Agreed. So at the end of the day, with that superpower, okay. So that energy and determination, do you really want balance? Because it's gonna not pay off, maybe.
No, I do.
Because it's one of the strongest superpowers, determination, for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah. I still learn, right? But I think it's more healthy. I have this bracelet with health monitors. I started using it in the last few months, and it's telling me that my biological age is like 5 years older. So it means that I'm not sleeping enough and I'm too stressful. Yeah, it's kind of my, it should be one of my focuses. And look, I truly feel it's something important. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And as I mentioned, I'm up for very long marathons, but I'm still a human, and I'm start realizing it. Yeah.
I'm very curious where you'll be when your chronological age will be 5 years from now, because your pace is very aggressive in a good way. So it's very fascinating to hear what you're gonna achieve by then.
Yeah, I hope more personal achievements, like personal life achievements, but it will be a real battle.
Well, but you set your goals and then you win them, right? So up to you.
I hope.
Lior, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thanks, Lior. I'm sure you're gonna hit a home run, and if not, you're gonna hit one eventually, and if not, you're gonna hit one eventually. So I love that superpower, and and just keep breaking barriers and expecting more of yourself, which is doing a great job. Thank you.
Of course, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Also, if you have a moment, we would really appreciate it if you could rate and review our podcast on the platform you're listening to. This will help others find our show. And as always, if you know anyone who you think would enjoy our podcast, please share it with them. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back as usual on the 1st of the month.
Real life.
Superpowers.
Up in the sky, it's a bird.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
It's alive!
Real life.
Superpowers.